A small-town police officer thought he was untouchable until he crossed the wrong line. This story begins with Officer Greg Daniels, a man known for wielding his badge with a heavy hand, especially toward the Black community. When he pulls over Malcolm Hayes, a respected local leader and activist, things escalate quickly. Malcolm, calm but firm, challenges the officer's aggressive behavior, while the onlookers begin to capture the interaction on their phones. What starts as a routine stop spirals into a moment that sparks outrage across the community. As the video goes viral, people from all walks of life come together, forcing Greg to face the consequences of his actions in a way he never expected. What happens when the power of a united community clashes with prejudice? This is the story of a reckoning that not only changes Greg's life, but leaves a lasting impact on everyone involved. Greg Daniels had been with the force for over a decade, patrolling the same streets where he grew up. To him, his badge was a shield that gave him power, but to many in the community, it was a symbol of fear. Malcolm Hayes, on the other hand, was the opposite, an advocate for equality and a voice for change. Known for his calm demeanor and unwavering commitment to justice, Malcolm had spent years building trust in a community that desperately needed hope. The tension between the two worlds came to a head during that traffic stop. Malcolm was on his way to a youth mentoring event when Greg pulled him over, claiming he had run a stop sign. Witnesses said Malcolm remained calm, asking questions about the stop, but Greg's tone grew sharper. Phones came out, recording every moment. What was supposed to be a simple exchange quickly became a public flashpoint. As the videos of the encounter spread online, the reactions were swift and polarizing. Some defended Officer Daniels, arguing that he was just doing his job, while others pointed to this as another example of racial profiling in their town. Protests began forming outside the police station, with Malcolm's supporters demanding accountability. Signs reading "Justice for All" and "End Racism Now" filled the streets as the community's frustration boiled over. Behind the scenes, Malcolm wrestled with his emotions. He wanted to stay focused on the bigger picture, bringing about real change, but the humiliation he felt during the stop was hard to shake. Meanwhile, Greg found himself under increasing scrutiny. His co-workers were divided. Some whispered support, while others kept their distance, fearing the backlash. But then something unexpected happened. A retired officer stepped forward, claiming this wasn't the first time Greg had crossed the line. Suddenly, the spotlight widened, and the story grew even more complicated. As more details surfaced, the community grew restless. People began sharing their own stories of Officer Daniels' harsh tactics, painting a troubling picture of a pattern long ignored. Malcolm, despite the pressure, became the voice of calm amid the storm. He urged the community to channel their frustration into action, organizing town hall meetings to demand change. These gatherings brought neighbors together like never before, but they also revealed deeper divisions within the town. Meanwhile, Greg's world was unraveling. The department placed him on leave as an investigation began, but the weight of the accusations only made him more defensive. He felt trapped, watching his reputation crumble under the glare of public outrage. His family was affected too, his wife receiving anonymous messages, his children struggling to understand what was happening. Tensions reached a boiling point when the town announced a public forum where Greg and Malcolm would both speak. The room was packed, emotions running high. Everyone was waiting to see how this clash between authority and accountability would unfold. The tension in the room was palpable as Malcolm took the microphone first. He spoke with conviction, recounting his experience during the stop while highlighting the broader issues of systemic bias. His words resonated with many, drawing nods and applause from the crowd. Greg sat stone-faced, waiting for his turn to respond, but just as he stood up, an unexpected voice interrupted. A young woman, barely out of her teens, stepped forward from the audience. Her name was Claire, and she revealed that she had once been pulled over by Greg under eerily similar circumstances. She shared how the encounter left her shaken and feeling powerless, adding her voice to the growing chorus of complaints. The crowd murmured, and Greg's expression shifted, But before he could respond, another man stood up, echoing Claire's story with his own. The momentum in the room shifted dramatically. What had started as a heated discussion between two figures became a collective outcry. Malcolm watched closely as Greg fumbled for words, the weight of the room pressing down on him. It wasn't just about one incident anymore. This was about years of stories finally coming to light. And then, to everyone's shock, someone in the crowd presented a recording from a body camera Greg hadn't disclosed, one that could change everything. The room fell silent as the body camera footage played on the projector. The video revealed the truth about Greg's actions during Malcolm's stop, his tone, his hostility, and the lack of any legitimate reason to pull Malcolm over. Gasps echoed through the crowd as Greg's earlier denials unraveled before everyone's eyes. For a moment, he looked like he might speak, but no words came. The police chief, sitting in the back of the room, stood up and announced that Greg would face a full investigation. The crowd erupted, some in cheers, others in anger, but Malcolm raised his hand to quiet them. He approached Greg, looking him in the eye. Instead of berating him, Malcolm extended a message of hope. "This is bigger than you or me. We need to fix the system, not just the symptoms." As Greg lowered his head, the twist came. The footage also revealed an unseen moment, a younger officer trying to stop Greg during the incident but being silenced. That officer, now emboldened by the town's unity, stepped forward to share how internal pressure had kept others from speaking up about Greg's behavior. It became clear it wasn't just about one man's actions, but a culture of fear and silence within the department. In that moment, the town realized change was possible, but only if they all stayed united. And for Greg, the weight of his choices became impossible to ignore. In the weeks that followed, the town began to heal, but not without hard conversations and meaningful action. The police department launched an independent review, and policies were put in place to ensure greater transparency and accountability. Greg resigned quietly, avoiding further public scrutiny, but his departure left an important lesson about power and responsibility. Malcolm, now more respected than ever, continued his work, using the momentum to push for broader reforms. The young officer who had tried to intervene became a symbol of courage, inspiring others in the department to speak up when they saw wrongdoing. For the community, it wasn't just about Greg or the traffic stop. It was about confronting the deeper issues that had lingered for too long. While the road ahead was still uncertain, the town felt different, united by a shared resolve to never let silence hold them back again. Change had finally begun.